Hey, you fucks. Thanks for, checking out the videos, showing a little bit of support. How about you take it to the next level and show us some love over there on Patreon, huh? Huh? Huh?
Yo, 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 greetings and salutations to all my hot gay sons out there on the internet. It's once again your good old buddy Papa Tikyo coming to you guys live from an awesome, nice, cold morning here in Japan. It's so funny, it's weird. It's weird how this works, because it's like I can look at the temperature outside right now, and I can see that it's like, oh, it's actually really cold outside. It's like 1 degree, but for some reason I feel like warm. Like it's always the coldest, at 5 or 6 a.m. At least here in Tokyo, right? And then I'll go to the bathroom, and I don't know. It's got to be the humidity or something. Like if any of you guys know weather better than I do, please try to explain it to me, because I don't understand what's going on here. It's like, so if you, I don't know. It's like I'll go, like I like to sleep with just my underwear on. I used to sleep only in the nude, but I realized I slept better with just the underwear on instead. And but I'll wake up and I'm like, oh, I don't want to put on a shirt or something. I'll just go to the bathroom. And last night, like, I took a nice long hot gay bath. And I have like a ventilation fan in my bathroom, but it doesn't work that well. So I usually have to use my, like, one of my USB fans that I have there. So and like I can't open up the window because that would just make it even colder. So luckily, like, my apartment gets pretty dry, and so I'll just leave the door to the bathroom open and just keep a fan on all night. But yeah, like, I go in there like a couple hours later, and it's still like, it's fucking it should be cold. It's like the coldest it is outside. It should be cold, but I'm in there with, like, without a shirt on, and I'm having a fan blow on me in the middle of the night where it's already cold and it's wet, and I'm like, like, I didn't feel anything. Like, how is it, like, some days I feel so fucking cold, and then some days, like, even with the same temperature, I don't feel cold? Like, how does that work? It's something I'm gonna have to ask ChatGPT about later, because I want to know. I want to figure it out. It sounds cool to me, But anyway, yeah, guys, how are you doing? Welcome back to another Papa Tikyo rant. We're talking about all this random shit today. But, like, the theme of this video is where to find strong whammons. And so I've got video clips of Lara Croft and like Street Fighter clips of hot chicks and stuff. Right now, while I'm looking at it, it looks like really laggy and slow, so I don't know. I feel like it kind of ruins the pace of this. Like, I didn't want it to be super fast, but I didn't want it to be super slow either. I wanted it to be kind of like a, like an arcade machine that is, like, too loaded up on RAM, and it's like, it's too much right now, So it's like, yeah, I gotta, but it's a little bit too laggy from what I'm seeing. But anyway, it don't matter. None of this matters. How are you guys doing today? Hello, everybody in the premiere chat. For everybody who doesn't understand, this is not live, guys. This is a premiere. I recorded this already before, and I'm uploading it. It's just a voice recording, and it's nice, and it's good, and it is ma'am. And, yeah, it's, God, it's just, I know I sound like a broken record when I say this, but it feels so good, dude. It feels so good just to have this backlog of stuff, and just having like an hour to myself every morning where I can reflect and talk about a topic. And I mean, all of this stuff is experimentation, right? Like, I get to experiment with making, like, videos and changing them different ways, and I get to experiment with, like, the video editing software, the Photoshop software. It's like all this stuff, like, people always think that you need a big project in order to experiment. It's like, nah, man, just start out small and have fun with it. And it's cool and it's fun. But anyway, yeah, before I keep going on that, let me just do, it's 4-minute point, so let me just do self-promo. Hey, guys, I don't make any money off of Google AdSense. It's all Patreon and Super Chats and everything and donos like that. So if you like this channel, you want to keep it going, and you want to show that you support this and, whatever, etc., then do me a favor, guys, and just go over to patreon.com/TKOSam. It's like my bonus site or whatever, where you can go over there, and there's all these extra fucking There's all this extra bonus content there, and yeah, from like blogs to behind the scenes, and most importantly, Japanese lessons, guys. If you ever wanted to learn Japanese, even if it's just a little bit, to come over here as a tourist. And I know a lot of you guys are going to come over as a tourist because I don't think the yen's getting any stronger anytime soon. So if you guys want to come over and do that, then yeah, go over to Patreon. It's 35 bucks a month. It's nothing. If you go to a language school in Japan, you know how much that costs? 500 bucks a month. And it's the most boring ass shit you're ever gonna hear. It's super slow pace. You don't want to do that, guys, right? So for 35 bucks a month, that's a steal. And on top of that, you get access to the Discord community where we're all talking about, where I share everything about the immersion environment on what to do, including like flashcard help and all this other shit. And yeah, anyway, it's a great banger for your buck, and including you also get a package from me in the mail every month when you do that. So yeah, highly recommend going over there and checking that out. If you don't like Patreon, I know there's a few of you guys who don't like Patreon, you can show your love for Dad by simply dropping a super chat or a super thanks. Those always really do help me out, guys, and it's I don't know, it's nice. I like seeing it. Also, like, we're trying to get the memberships up too. Every 25 members you gain on your channel, you get an extra emoji slot, and I've been making a lot of extra emojis recently. So if you want to help out at all, you can do that. You can do it from your phone or your computer. It's not a big deal. Helps out the channel, helps fund projects, etc., etc., and hot gay sex. Now, if you guys don't want to do speaking of that, here, wait, hold on. Speaking of super chats and super thanks, here is the super thanks or super chat of the week. Boom. Whoever that was that I just posted, thank you, sir. Thank you for your service. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, if you guys want your super chat or super thanks highlighted, then yeah, you know what to do. So get in there. And even if you don't have any money to throw at Dad, do me a favor and just smash the like button or dislike, whatever, you know, however you feel about this. It's engagement. And leave a comment. I always like hearing your guys' comments about this stuff. And I guess if you don't know what to write, well, there's a question for you. And the question of the day is, are you currently single? Are you not single? And if you're not single, how long have you been in your current relationship? And you know, like, how does it compare to your other relationships you've had up until now? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you are single, tell me, like, what's your longest relationship, and why do you think that you know, you guys, I mean, there's 3 people who comment on this stuff, and usually they comment like, Dad, I like cheeseburgers or something. But for any of you guys who actually want to participate in the conversation, yeah, like, tell me, like, what was your, like, longest relationship, and why did it fail? Because yeah, today's topic, I got prompted to make this because I did a tweet, or I guess I responded to a tweet. Hold on, let me get coffee here. I responded to a tweet about a guy who, I guess it's a clip from a TV show or an internet show or something, and this guy, he's this dude who, it's in America, and this dude, like, runs a company, and he's, like, infinitely more rich than his girlfriend, and his girlfriend, when she first met him, was like, oh, okay, like she actually dated him for him. But then she found out that he's not just, like, a millionaire, but he owns his own successful company and stuff, right? And so, like, they've decided to get married, and he's like, I want to get a prenup, and she's like, but why? And it's just the most gold diggery shit ever, and the guy's, like, talking to her as if this is negotiable. And anyway, I responded with, like, this chode deserves her or whatever. And yeah, I don't know, it pissed me off, and I wanted to talk about it. So that's why I'm spieling about this today, about, like, why weak men get weak women, and why it doesn't matter about how, like, successful or good looking you are if you don't know how to, like, you know, establish boundaries and control the expectations of who you're dating. And it's like, well, yeah, good for you to say, Dad. Like, you know, we don't know about your dating history or something besides sex And I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, you know, you can feel free to not listen to anything I have to say. And I always tell everybody, take the advice with a grain of salt, especially mine. You know, like Tony Tony Hawk. Tony Hawk said this in his Italian Mafia. Tony Soprano, you know, believe none of what you hear and half of what you see, right? But this is my podcast, and I'm going to say my opinion on my fucking podcast. And if you don't like it, then you are welcome to start your own podcast where you can talk about sex and stuff. Yeah, it's so funny. It's like that Lucy case, like fucking joke. It's like, I hate Verizon. It's like, well, then start your own. Stop bitching and just start your own, you bitch ass. And, yeah, anyway, I don't know. It's funny. But, yeah, what the hell else are we talking about here? Yeah, you know, it's just like, yeah, so that's why I got prompted to do this. And by the way, guys, if you want to help Dad out even more, make sure you join the Discord. It's free. You don't need to pay to join it. And, but I mean, you do pay to get access to the super secret parts of it, but, you know, there's still plenty of free Discord for you to explore. The link is down below, and also follow me on social media, guys. I just posted, I did a rare post on Instagram shouting out my Rocka Boys today because they just released the trailer for their new movie called Bring Her Back, and yeah, it's cool. I can't wait to, I don't know, that first one, like, that surprised me. I knew that they're like good filmmakers, but I was really, like, goddamn, like, that movie was, even for people that don't like horror movies, like, they would still really enjoy that movie. I mean, it's gory and shit, but the story and just also the acting plus the pacing and just the visual design, it was really good. Like, wow, you know, it's an experience for sure. So I can't wait to see the next one. But yeah, anyway, that's I don't know, what did I want to get into today, spiel wise. It's just yeah, you know, like, I came to Japan, and I came to Japan a virgin. Big surprise, right? Oh my god, Dad, it's not like you've mentioned this before. But yeah, it's like I came to Japan with, like, no luck with women, and it's not that, it's like when I say no luck, that would imply that I tried, but I really didn't try a lot when I was in America, you know? And so it's like when I came to Japan, I lost my virginity. And then, and funny thing, I didn't even lose it to a Japanese chick. It was a French chick. But still, it's like, you know, I come to Japan and, you know, get laid. And then I get a girlfriend and I start getting laid. But, like, you know, it's like, I wanted to, what do you say? It's like, I was, you know, I had a bunch of short relationships at the beginning too, and I would get laid randomly sometimes, and I just remember maybe like the second or third year, it was probably third year I was here, like the beginning of the third year, so like 2 full years of being here. I just remember I was just getting, like, I was in the countryside, and I don't know why, it's just like when I'm in the countryside or just outside Tokyo, I have this like super lonely feeling that it's like I need like a connection or something, and I realize now it's just like being out of the city makes me feel that way, so just don't be out of the city, you know, kind of thing. But it's yeah, you know, like I wanted to stop getting laid by luck. I wanted it to be by my own hand, you know. I wanted to control this stuff a lot better, and it's just coincidentally at the same time I was feeling like really heavily about that, I met this guy who kind of like unofficially started to mentor me, who I nicknamed H. I've talked about him before, and he got me into the game, which got me into pickup artist stuff, and yeah, and it was just like a long road from there, and I want to get more into detail about that, but it's just you know, I think that it's like what is the theme of this, right? It's like where to find a strong woman. Why do you need a strong woman? And what exactly are you saying, Dad? And I guess, okay, like, let me start off by saying, like, this is an example, okay? And I don't think this viewer of mine watches me anymore. And if he does, and I got this wrong, feel free to correct me. You know who you are. But you know, I had a viewer come to Japan, and he visited, and I met up with him, and he was like a really good-looking, tall, deep voice, having good, you know, like he was a good-looking guy, and he was from like a rich family and stuff too, you know. But he had no confidence, and I forgot why. I think it's just that he said that his brothers were even more handsome than him or something, and he hated his family or whatever. And but anyway, like this guy, like I don't know why he lacked any confidence, you know. And he didn't want to go to college, he told me, so he came to Japan. Like this is what a lot of rich kids do. They don't want to go to college, so they're just going to go to a language school because they know most language schools are bullshit, and they're just getting a visa to come here. But anyway, he came here to get a language school visa, and you know, it's like instead of talking about how much he loved Japan and how fun it was to be here and how like he was really into the language, he was just talking about getting laid a lot, you know. And it's just like, yeah, dude, like, you know, like this isn't Thailand, you know, like this isn't like a country you come just to like sex pad it up. And but it's like, I don't know, I'm not the guy, right? So I can't 100% understand where the fuck he was coming from, what he was thinking, right? But point is that this was like a really good looking guy who just lacked confidence and lacked purpose, right? And anyway, I think I met up with him twice, maybe 3 times in total. And I don't even know if he's still in Japan. He could have gone home for all I know. But the whole point is that he was going to a language school in Shinjuku or something. And then he had been on Tinder and stuff. And the first woman who he matched with on Tinder was this like fat, stubby woman in her like early 30s. And it's like they immediately hooked up. I think he lost his virginity to her, but she lived in Chiba. She didn't live like far in Chiba, but she lived like on the outskirts of Tokyo, kind of Chiba. And so he moved out of his like dormitory or something to a closer apartment just to be near her after like a month or 2 of meeting her, you know. And I was like, you're moving really fast, dude. Like, what the fuck? And I get it. The guy really liked that some woman was genuinely interested in him. And she was probably giving him a lot of sex. And so, like, I get it. You know, like, you're a young 20-year-old dude. And, you know, you're getting something. You're getting, like, respect. You know, you're getting people liking you for not really trying that hard. And you're getting, like, sex. A lot of sex, right? But you know, this is moving very fast, you know, and like I was like, why are you doing this? And he's like, well, I've always wanted a family, you know, I've always wanted a big family. And I'm like, yeah, okay, like, don't you want to get your shit together before you have a quote unquote big family or whatever? And it's like, he's like, well, you know, like, you know, working on it, you know, like I'll work on it from the blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, dude, cool. But it's like that guy, he didn't know his own self-worth because he lacked purpose. And because he lacked purpose, you know, it was just, what could I say? Like, lack of discipline, or just, like, he settled very, very, very quickly, you know? And it's like, I noticed that happens. I don't know if it happens a lot, but I've definitely seen it a lot in Japan. So where it's like a guy comes here and they've never gotten laid before, and then they just wife up the first woman who sleeps with them. And for me, it's like I've you know, growing up in a divorced household and friends having like, you know, divorced parents and stuff. It's like I know that it's like this is one of those things where it's like if you are going to really get married, you gotta fucking, like, you know, you gotta wait this shit out, you know, you gotta, like, there's so many things you can do to test the waters before you fully commit. I mean, luckily in Japan, I don't think that they can, well, I don't know, tell me if I'm wrong, guys, because I don't really know 100%, but I think in Japan, like, you don't have to pay alimony. Like, they have isharyo in Japan, which means, like, compensation money, but it also can mean alimony, I think, but I don't know how strictly they enforce that. Like in America, if you don't pay child support, you go to jail, right? So I don't know how it is here in Japan. But I think it's way less from what I assume. It's pretty, it's not that harsh. Like, most of the time people pay, like, dudes pay for child support because it's just they want to see the kid, not because they're afraid of going to jail. But anyway, it's just like, it's like coming to Japan and deciding to be an English teacher for the whole time you're in Japan because it was the easiest job and you have, like, responsibility for the first time ever. So you're, like, stagnant, right? And, like, this is, like, another reason why I'm bringing this up is, like, I saw a podcast yesterday. I'm not going to say, like, the name of it because I don't know the guy personally, but it's like I saw this podcast and this dude's older than me, and I'm in, like, mid-30s right now, right? So, like, this guy was older than me, and he's obviously, like, early 40s or maybe mid-40s, and he's dressed like a skater punk that, like the dudes that I went to high school with, kind of thing. Like, he's dressed like that, and he's like, yo, what's up, guys? And he's, like, kind of putting on this, like, facade of, like, a young dude who's starting, like, a podcast for the first time, kind of thing, right? And it's like, I was just like, wait, I tried to look for videos where he's speaking Japanese. I couldn't really find any. And I'm like, wait, is this a dude who's just been in Japan a long time? Because I think he's been in here longer than me. And if he's older than me, that means that he's been here longer, right? So it's like, wow, this guy's been, like, all the people that he has on the podcast, they're all people that speak English, even the Japanese people. And I haven't seen him speak Japanese, and I don't know what job this guy is, but he seems to have a lot of people that are English teachers on his thing, so maybe he's another English teacher too. And I'm like, wait, so this guy's been in Japan forever, and it doesn't look like he speaks Japanese, and it looks like he probably does English teaching. And I'm like, I don't know if that's true or not, right? Like, I can just assume this, but it's like, so wait, why do I feel like I'm better than this guy? Well, like, why do I feel like I'm better than this guy? And it's like, well, it's like, this guy seems to be happy. He seems to be doing his own thing. Like, why do I have, like, this kind of, like, like, snubby attitude for seeing this guy? And it's like for me, it's like, I always thought when I was younger, it doesn't matter about, like, your hobbies and what you like and what you get like joy out of. If you don't have anything to show for, like, doing something big, then you're not really an adult, is what, like, I thought when I was younger, right? It's like, oh, well, if you don't have a family, even if you have a family that doesn't like you or a wife that hates you, at least you, like, tried to make a family, and it's like, oh, well, you have a career but you hate it. Well, at least you have a career, or, like, at least you have a company, like, you did something that took a lot of commitment and risk, and you're sticking through it even if you hate it. And then it's like, this guy, he seems, like, totally happy and everything, but it's just like, wait, if he's an English teacher, because, like, the guy is, when you, like, talk, like, when you see people and you're like, yeah, that guy doesn't have any kids, like, that guy might own a house or something, but it's not like he probably paid for it with his English teaching thing. He probably has a house that, like, he got through inheritance, or, like, he married into it or something. Like, it's like, the guy doesn't come off like he has any big responsibilities. But, like, is that a problem? Like, is that really a big problem or anything? Like, as long as the guy's happy, who cares, right? And it's like, well, what's so... And then, like, I'm looking at me in the mirror, and I'm like, well, what's so different about you, dude? What makes you so good? And I'm like, well, I mean, like, I learned Japanese. I do everything in Japanese, practically, except for watching Asmongold clips. My whole day is filled up with Japanese. All my operating systems are in Japanese. Like, I try to... aside from work, I try to, like, talk to my Japanese friends as often as possible. Like, I try to keep up on the trends and stuff of what's going on in Japan, read Japanese news, etc. And it's like, yeah, well, why does that make you better than them? And I'm like, well, it doesn't, but I feel like, I have more options, like, when you, like, why would you move to another country not to assimilate to a certain amount? It was funny because it reminds me of this clip I saw a long time ago. They deleted it, but there was, like, this clip of these guys talking shit, and they were like, Tikyo Sam, he's wearing bandanas, and he's overweight, and he's living in a guest house, and he's live streaming. That guy doesn't contribute to Japan like us. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I worked for, like, 10 plus years Monday through Saturday, like, and I learned Japanese. Like, if that didn't contribute to society, then what the fuck like, you know, there's a lot more people that you can get angry at and really actually stick the finger at, but it's like you're just like trying to cherry pick things you don't like about me so they fit your narrative, right? And it's just like for this situation, it's like, look, it's like that meme where it's like, it isn't just for me to win, others must lose. And it's like, I don't know, what am I saying here? I feel like there's ways. I respect people who have options, but not just options, but options that they worked for having versus just being like given, you know? It's like a video game, right? Like, don't you feel so much better when you have a character that's super OP, but you went from like fighting these like little monsters at the first stage where they were actually hard, and now like you come back when you're like level 70 or something and you can just do like a flick of your sword and they die and stuff. Like, it feels rewarding because you went through the journey, right? And it's like, for me, like, I feel I have to constantly, not constantly, but like I have to remind myself on occasion that it's like, oh, I'm working freelance right now and I'm working part-time, but I'm doing it because I don't want to work full-time again. Like, I would rather make less money and have more free time than work full-time again just for a status, just for like, oh, I'm responsible for something, you know? It's like, it's not that it's bullshit, but like, everything that you want to have meaning will have meaning, but you have to give it meaning first, right? And it's like, are you doing this really for you, or are you doing this like because you think it will impress other people? And I think a lot of people do stuff just because they want to fit in, right? It's like, you know, it's not just about the importance of conformity, or what is it? It's not just about the joys of conformity, the importance of trends. It's also a message about the band itself. Hey, Paul. Ah! It's but anyway, I'm just like, you know, I see these guys and I think it's just they start a relationship with a woman because the woman likes the novelty of the guy. Like, she sees something in him that she likes. But the thing is that like, women like men because they see, I think it's because they see potential. It doesn't matter how rich and famous and like good looking or like how smart you are. It's like, women like guys who they're like, okay, this dude could be something pretty big and he's already pretty badass. But, you know, ew. I just burped up a little bit. Ugh. Hold on. Oh, that was probably my, I don't know, supplements earlier. Oh, it's like puke burp. It's like, women like guys who they can see potential in, right? And guys just like chicks who, I don't know. I mean, like, we're really physical, right? Like, unless you really like fat chicks, you're not gonna really go for a fat chick. If there's an ugly woman, it just, I don't know. I remember there was this one chick. Her name was Makoto, and I remember I met her at a festival a long time ago in Idia near Ueno. And I just remember her. She was like really strong-willed and everything. And she had come from like Fukuoka or something. And she was with her friends, and they were more attractive, but she just like had her shit together so much more, and she was just like really strong-willed, and I like that, you know. And so it's like, it's not just about like looks, right? Like, looks are superficial; they'll fade, you know. But it's like, I think that it's like, again, a lot of people are angry or they're distressed or whatever because they jumped into a situation where they were like, okay, well, you know, this is good enough, you know, hey, I don't need the princess whatever, like, this is good enough for me right now, kind of thing, right? And it's like, I feel that when, like, you have to really embrace the growing process of being a man, right? And again, like, it's not about how much money you have or how good looking you are. It's just like, do you have a purpose? Do you have something that you're working towards? And if so, like, you know, like, you just don't stop, you know. Like, you gotta find, like, I remember Cracky, the best man to ever live, Cracky Reads, best streamer in the whole world, Cracky Reads. I remember one guy was asking him, it's like, how do you get confident? And he's like, you get good at something. Get really good at something, and then that will seep into other things that you want to get good at. So it's like, if you want to learn, like if you're good at learning a language, you'll probably be good at learning multiple languages, kind of thing, right? If you're good at weightlifting, you'll probably be just as good at like cardio or like jogging or running or something, because you're used to like being in that environment, right? So it's like, it's just skill stacking, you know? And yeah, and it's just like, I think the same thing with women. It's like a lot of guys, like, I mean, fucking Neil Strauss talks about this in his book, where it's like, there was a guy who was part of the crew or whatever, right? And he like learns pickup artist stuff, and he's like a successful Australian businessman, and he finds this really hot chick. He's got her pregnant, but then he realizes, he's like, I don't really like her, and she's mean, and she's just using me for money. And it's like, yeah, dude. And it's like, you got to be congruent about who you are and what you want, kind of thing, right? And yeah, like I think a lot of guys miss that. You know, they forget that's an essential thing, right? Like my friends who are currently married, like they're happy. It's because they already had good shit going on, and a woman just became part of that. You know, like she basically became the cherry on top of the cake. She wasn't the cake, she was the cherry. And I think a lot of people need to acknowledge that. It's like, yeah, dude, like that's the thing. Like you need to like, if a woman should be somebody who accompanies you on your journey. She doesn't become your journey, right? And yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, it's just, I see these guys, they'll come to Japan and they'll be like, oh wow, like, you know, like this princess, she's great, she's the best thing ever. And I'm like, dude, you should date around a little bit more before you just commit to that. I mean, sometimes people do meet like the love of their life, and it's like they know, both of them just know, and they're working on it. But I don't think that's the case most of the time. I like, you know, there's a difference between you know, just having lust and inexperience versus like I don't know. I mean, like, ultimately, what do you want, right? Like, I think that it's just a lot of people, they stop wanting to be challenged, and they're like, oh man, well, I guess this is okay. I guess this is fine, right? And I don't know. I mean, like, fuck. Let's talk about some girlfriends that I had, right? It's like I remember one of the first girlfriends I had her here in Japan. Her name was Maiko, and she was a chick who she went abroad in America for a year or something. So her English was pretty good. I think I met her on, oh my god, it must have been Facebook or Skype or MySpace or something. It was like a long time ago. But she lived in, where was it? I think she lived in like Urayasu or something. Like she lived in Chiba. I lived in Chiba. And so I would see her when I would come into Tokyo on the weekends and stuff. And it was good, you know, it was good. Sex was good. It was fun. But, like, you know, luckily, like, I didn't have to end that relationship like she did, because she's like, I'm going to go back to the U.S. Like, do you want to come with me? And I'm like, no. You know? It's like, yeah, there you go. And, like, that's a thing where, like, luckily it's just like, yeah, but if I think about, like, another example of that, how, like, at the guest house when I was there, there's this French guy named Hugo. You guys can see him. I have the guest house interview of him still up on my channel. But he went to Japan for, like, 4 years or something. He did 2 years of language school, 2 years at vocational school, finally got a job in Japan. Really good-looking French dude. But he had no confidence. And so the moment he gets a girlfriend, his first girlfriend ever in Japan, he wifes her up, and she's like, I don't want to live in Japan anymore. I want to live in France. And he's like, okay, yeah, fine. And I'm like, really? Is this what you came to Japan for? Is this what you studied for? So you could just find a wife after not dating at all and then just move to France? And I'm like, okay. Hey, if it works for you, it works for you. But I feel like a lot of guys live in regret because they married the wrong woman, or they married too quickly, kind of thing, right? And it even gets even more complicated when you buy a house and you have kids or whatever. And yeah, it's just tough. So it's like, well, how do you find a strong woman then, Dad? Stop beating around a bush and tell me. Well, it's like, if I saw this comment, and so this was also on Twitter. and it was I forgot why it wasn't a like it was a posting. It was like a image capture of a text post that said like, don't get into a relationship until you have your shit together, like, you know, and then somebody was like, and then the comment section or the replies to it were just like, oh yeah, this is so spot on, and others are like, hey, some people don't have their shit together and they grow as people with those people that they're with. And it's like, yeah, I kind of agree with that, but I agree more with the whole have your shit together thing, because like if you get a woman who accepts you while you're at not your lowest, but like while you're at like this thing, right, where it's just like you're in the middle of your growth process, you know, like that's a woman of low standards, don't you think? like you want a woman who like thinks highly of herself, that wants more out of life kind of thing. And that's where, like, you know, you being successful, you being like, you having options, and it's not just like successful with money. I mean, like, you being physically healthy, you know, it's like that's one of the things too. It's like sex is great, but when you don't have stamina for like a good sex session, and like you don't like your body, like it's not really a, I mean, you know, sex is like pizza. Even when it's bad, it's still good, but it's still like it will feel more fulfilling to you if you can maximize that situation, right? And so it's like, I don't know, like there's that quote, I forgot where it's from. It must have been from a podcast or something, but it's like, you hang out with what is it? It's like, you hang out with fat people, you'll get fat. You hang out with criminals, you'll eventually do crime. You hang out with rich people, and they'll eventually throw you away when they get bored, or like, you know, they'll use you, like they'll use you to as a scapegoat for something or whatever, right? And so and yeah, and it's like, I think the same thing. It's like, if you're just hanging around weak men all the time that don't have goals, that don't have initiatives, that like are just like kind of living their life on autopilot, and they're like, well, I guess I'll figure it out eventually, then the likelihood of you being more like those guys is higher, right? I mean, like, I always like to tell people that it's like, I don't ever want to be the smartest guy in the room, you know, like the smart, like, or what is it, like some of the most successful people in the world regarding projects or their companies or whatever, like they're successful because they get people that know stuff better than them in certain fields, and they collect them together and they manage it. And I think that's really important, right? It's like, if you want to get better with getting women, you need to find dudes who are good with women first and learn from them, right? And it's like, well, like, what if you just want a relationship, you don't want to fuck chicks? And it's like, well, still, like, at least for me, I'm one of those guys where it's like, I learn better if you just tell me, like, straight up. Like, if you give me, like, more, as clear as communication as possible, then, you know, especially if you're somebody who I respect, I'll listen to it, you know, I'll actually take the advice in. And so, like, that's the thing, right? Like, it's not that you need to be perfect, but you need to have, like, a goal that you're aiming towards and stuff, right? And I think a lot of people get caught up with the busyness of life, and so because of that, they ignore things, right? Like, they ignore their health, they ignore you know, putting money away for like a rainy occasion or something, you know, like a rainy day kind of thing. Or they, I don't know, man, I mean, it's one of those things where it's just like I think that you don't need, like, you should never be in the position where you need a woman to make your life better, or like to give your life purpose, right? Like, you need to find purpose on your own, but there's nothing wrong with wanting to share your life with other people, but you can't just do it because you feel like you have to do it, right? It's like, you have to do it because you want to do it, but you need to know why you want to do it, right? And it's just so funny because it's like, also, like, people never take the time to think about, like, what kind of person do they want to date? You know, like, it's okay to change the kind of person you want to date, but there's nothing wrong with thinking about what kind of person do you want to date? Do you want to date somebody who, like, there's a lot of skinny fat girls in Japan, and it's like, what's skinny fat? It's like, well, girls just look skinny, but they don't actually exercise. So I don't know, anybody who's had sex with a few Japanese women will tell you, it's like, they look skinny, they look good, but they lack a lot of, you know, tairyoku. They don't have a lot of physical energy, and it's because they're skinny fat. They look skinny, but they don't work out. And so it's like, if you want to, it's like, yeah, if that matters to you, then like, yeah, go for women that are like, go check out women that go to the gym, ask women like who you're dating, like, or you're going on dates with, do you go to the gym? And it's like, okay, Dad, well, like, what about picking up women and all this other male self-advice, like self-help growth advice? Like, what do you have? And I guess I'll save that for, like, another fucking episode of these TK rants later, because I want to get more into depth and detail with that as well. But again, like, this is more about, like, where do you find these strong women, And it's like, well, why do you need strong women? And it's not that you need strong women, but when you have a woman that knows what she wants, and it's the kind of like the same thing, she's allowing you into her life, then I feel like you both can compromise, or at least you can have better, clear communication about things than if you're with somebody who's insecure, who's just kind of floating around and doesn't know what they want. Because it's always like, I see people that are just like, well, it doesn't matter, right? It's all about the person. But if you've ever done teaching, you'll know that, like, there are a lot of, like the reason why people are scared of AI is because AI understands that people are just advanced animals, But animals still have patterns, right? Like, animals still have predictability to them. And when you realize that people are not unique and that you can classify and categorize people into different fucking, I don't know, genres, but like maybe personalities or just, people types or whatever, right? You can predict more about like what's gonna happen with that person, and like, because like people don't usually change, right? It's like that quote from Taxi Driver: people don't change. As they get older, they just become more like, more of themselves, right? They become more of themselves. So it's like, if you're gonna drastically change, there's a possibility for that, but it doesn't really happen that often. And like, change does happen like over time, possibly, but still, it's like, if you want to get that ambiguity out of the way, it's better for looking for people that already have kind of crystallized what they want, and what they're going for. But people don't usually like going for those kind of people because they're intimidated. They're like, oh man, this person's living up to a higher standard of living than me. Like, they seem to have their shit together. I'm still figuring stuff out. Like, this is intimidating. But if you are also having your shit together, especially if you're physically taking care of yourself, like, I mean, hell, dude, for some guys, man, like, I mean, of course, and people go through phases in life where they have their shit together and when they don't have their shit together, right? But, like, I always like to use the example of my buddy. I won't say his name here because, I don't know. Hey, I know if you're watching this and you're like, hey, that's me, you can say it in the comment section later. But, like, I had a buddy here. He lives in America now. He's doing tech stuff. But I had a buddy here who, he wasn't even good looking. I mean, like, I've met guys who are good looking, and he was not good looking. I had a buddy who always used to wear mutton chops on his fucking head and stuff. It looked so fucking weird. But, he was just an ALT in Tokyo, and maybe it was because of Tinder or something, but, like, he would always fuck MILFs. And I remember the ultimate MILF that he found was this woman, because he'd always share pictures of their dates and stuff. And like, what he was like, yeah, I've been seeing this MILF recently, and she's like, or cougar, not MILF, but cougar, and he's like, yeah, and I'm like, oh, what's up? And it's like, she's married, and she has like her husband is like one of the owners of like the biggest like yakiniku like barbecue restaurants or something around Saitama. And like, he showed me the pictures, and it's like the woman, she's driving a convertible sports car, and she had a Louis Vuitton pet bag, and inside that pet bag was a monkey. And it's like, I'm like, god damn, dude. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And anyway, I was just like, what is this? Like, what's happening here? But yeah, I mean, like, she just really loved the way that he made her feel, and she didn't care about him not having money. So like, that was a fun fling, right? And like, so it's easy. Like, status does, and like looks, I guess, don't really matter if you're just looking for a fling. But do you want a relationship, or do you just want a fling? I think Japan is perfect for people that want to have flings. I mean, like, that's one thing that's really nice about Japan is that like they're not prude. I think China and Korea are very, very prude. They don't like the idea of like cheap sex. without commitment and stuff. Like slut shaming is really a big deal, I think, in those countries. But in Japan, people are pretty, like they keep things on the down low and stuff. So like that's another reason why I think, if you wanted to be a foreigner here who just wanted to fool around, you can do that. I'm not saying like just use chicks and then ghost them or something, but I'm saying like if you want like a casual kind of sexual relationship, you can do it here. But it's like, just because they'll fuck you a couple times doesn't mean that they want to date you or marry you. And if you want somebody to marry you, that's not a big deal, right? Like you can have that happen, right? But it's just, again, like you got to kind of be congruent. I think it's a lot easier to find a woman who has her shit together than trying to build a woman so then she has her shit together. God, my buddy, he doesn't watch this anymore, but my buddy AJ, if he's watching it, what's up, AJ? How's it going? If you're watching this, like, again, it kind of goes to like the patterns and predictability. Like one thing I noticed with my black buddies here is that, they're always like, it doesn't matter if they're ALTs or whatever, they're always taking really good care of themselves. They're going to the gym, they're wearing fresh clothing, like they know how to talk to women and stuff, right? And so, but like one thing they'll do, like my buddy AJ did, was like they'll find these women who they have the potential to look hot, but they're not super hot yet, but they're looking for somebody. Hey Bart, do you have a new best friend yet? Because I've been looking for somebody to boss me around. Oh. Big points for any of you guys who get that reference in the comment section. But yeah, like these women are like, hey, are you looking for women to change their lives for the better? Because I've been looking for a guy to fuck me really good and change my life. And yeah, so like what these dudes do, like my buddy AJ, he met this one chick. I mean, he met a bunch of chicks, but I'll just use the last chick that I saw him with as an example. Like, he met this half Irish chick, a half Japanese chick, and she was chubby when he first met her. She was like a stubby, little chubby chick. And, but AJ loves going to the, I mean, he's black, so they love the fat chicks. I mean, come on, guys. Like, come on, am I wrong? Tell me I'm wrong. But he's like, she could look better, be thinner, kind of thing. And so AJ was one of those guys where he was going to the gym all the time. And so even though this woman didn't live anywhere near him, she just liked him so much. He was like the coolest guy she's ever dated. So she went and she did this stuff. Like, she would go to the gym with him all the time. And like they would go shopping and she'd let him like pick out her clothing. And like she's like, well, I dropped out of college, but and I'm just working part-time now. And like he got her to like re-enroll or whatever and like go back into college and stuff. And so like the guy literally changed her life. So like even when she was angry or something, he would just squash that shit immediately. Be like, okay, do I need to go? Do we need to end this? No, I'm sorry. And it's like that's the whole thing. It's like when you just like, when there's nothing wrong with having like disagreements in a relationship, but the thing with women that I've noticed is that women are like children, like they're emotional beings. It's like the Jack Nicholson fucking clip, tell me, how do you write the perfect woman? Well, I think of a man and I take away reason and accountability. Not that those women are not out there. I just think that it's if you're dating a regular chick who's watching TV and on TikTok all the time, there's more likely is the latter of that versus being based and clear-headed, right? And also just women, they're hormonal, like they got the thing and they're not logical beings, Guys are stupid too sometimes, but at least we're predictable, But yeah, it's just like, the whole thing is, it's just like, there's nothing wrong with clearing up your communication when you're in a relationship, but at the same time, if somebody's pulling some shit, you give them a warning, and then and it's like, well, what if you're wrong? What if you are wrong? Well, it's like, well, if you are a guy who has his shit together, then when you're wrong, you have no ego about it, and you could be humble and be like, yeah, I was wrong, and I'm sorry that I made you feel that way. I didn't know that I made you feel that way. And like, are you okay now? Like it's hard because like the guys want to use their logical brain, but women aren't. Like sometimes when they're angry, they're not logical. You gotta connect with them on an emotional level so they get the picture, right? But I mean, the whole thing is like, those guys go for women that are fixer-uppers, right? And it's like, that's fine, like that's fine, you can do that, right? But it's like, again, as you get older, you're thinking about like, I need like somebody to build something bigger with, And like, I don't think there's anything wrong with like being a guy who just rents all the time, who's just casually dating. But I do think that like you can grow as a person by taking on more responsibility. But at the same time, like, you don't need to worry. Like, I mean, there's always the worry in the back of people's minds, right? That it's like, oh shit, what if this doesn't work out? What if I pick the wrong person or whatever? But it's just, if you have your shit together, and I know I sound like a broken record, but it's just like, if you have your shit together, you're more clear-headed, and if you're more clear-headed, you know what you want. And if you know more about what you want, then you're less willing to compromise your stance on things when shit gets emotional and out of your control. And I think that's all we want. We want to be in control of our destiny, kind of thing, right? And so, yeah, you know, I don't know. I mean, this, tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, like, because like I have a couple of my viewers, you know, some of you guys are married, you got careers, but like you don't like your wife and stuff, and you know who you are, who I'm talking about. But it's like, and those guys did the thing, you know, they got the career, they got the wife, they got the family, you know, and so, but they're constantly frustrated and like pissed off about it, right? And it's like, is that really what you want to be in a situation where you're like, I hate this. This isn't what I want, but it's, I made a kid, or like I have this company, or, you know, whatever. So I have to stick with it. I mean, when you make the commitment, keep the commitment, kind of thing. Like my buddy, that went to America a while back that I told you guys about, like, you know, like him and his wife, he was not constantly, but he was definitely, you know, he wasn't vocal, but he made it very clear that he was not happy with his Japanese wife, and like they weren't having sex. She was just taking him for granted. Like, you know, she's like a famous, well, anyway, I can't say, but she's a famous something, and so she makes a lot more money than him, significantly more, and so he's a working house husband. He has a job, but also he takes care of the kids too, and he does all the chores and the cooking and everything, and she's basically the breadwinner of the family. And he was, you know, like, he was pissed off that she's always nagging him when he's like, you're not ever here, like, I'm taking care of the kids and blah blah blah. Anyway, like, my advice to him was like, you know, well, you know, like, well, first off, marriages go through ups and downs, and especially when you have kids, you just got to kind of tough it out. I mean, it's just like, if you're committed to something that's big, you got to tough it out. I mean, like, that's the whole thing. It's like, do you want to be committed to something that's bigger than yourself, or do you want to be the samurai, the honorable samurai, or do you want to be the ronin? You know, do you want to be the alpha who's in charge of the group, or the sigma who's just by himself, right? And you know, both have their own pros and cons, right? But if you're already in the committed relationship and you got the kids and everything, then like I told him, one, you got to tough it out. You know, you got to tough it out, and you just got to, you know, tie it. You know, like, you got to put up with it. Gaman shiro yo. Nonde omae wa otoko dakara gaman shiro tsute. But it's like, but also I told him, like, you know, because Japanese women hate babysitters for some reason. They are so against having babysitters in their house, and so one way to counteract that is just being like, I don't know, you got to figure out a way to do that. But, you know, it's like, well, put the kids with the grandparents for a night or two. We don't have, you know, her parents are dead. We don't have grandparents here. Well, go to America or wherever your parents are that are still alive, and have them watch the kids for a night or two, and then take your wife out to a nice fancy hotel, and take her out to a nice restaurant, and just bang the ever-living shit out of her. Let her realize that there are, because like some people, they get stuck in their negative thought patterns and shit, and you just gotta break them out. I mean, like in pickup, they say break the frame, right? And so, yeah, you know, you gotta do that. You gotta do that with people sometimes, and it's important. You know, you gotta do the thing. And so, yeah, you know, that's what I think about this stuff. You gotta break the pattern, and it's like some people, instead of trying to fix stuff, they just want to run away. And that's understandable too. And when you don't have, I don't know, it's one of those things where, like, I'm not going to say the person's name, but like I had not an argument, but a disagreement with somebody I know, because I said that you should move in with somebody before you marry them, because it's just like a shit test, right? Like, you know, if you are, like, if you want to see what this person is like, fully, you know, there's a lot of shit tests you can do, whether you're a girl, you know, dating a guy or whatever, right? And it's like one of the shit tests you do is like, okay, take this person on vacation with you, where you have to be around them for 24/7, and let's see how well you do, you know, see how well you're working, like in a new environment, in kind of stressful situation. And you know, that's one thing. See if they get angry, and like if they do get angry, what kind of angry are they, you know? Because when you see them at their angriest, then you're not going to be surprised when they get angrier later on, you know? You're going to be like, okay, I know how to deal with this. But it's like little shit tests like that. I think if people did that more, because like when you say, well, just get married and then move in, you're assuming that these people have those strong morals and whatever. And just because one of the people doesn't mean that the other person might, you know? So it's just like, you know, if you're going to move in with somebody too, move into a place where you can, where like you can pay for the rent even if she's not there anymore, right? Like it's like, again, like, you know, you gotta spend time together. You gotta go on a lot of different trips. You gotta go on a bunch of different dates. Like you gotta let this person know you, you know, deep and intimately. Sexual, like in the cabin's captain. I want to go to the captain's cabin, Frylock. No. But anyway, I mean, it's just like, find these strong women. Find women who, it's like, she doesn't need to be a CEO of a company, but she needs to have like some goal that she's going towards. Like if you want that regular existence where it's like, oh, my wife, she works at a convenience store, and you know, I'm an English teacher, then that's fine, right? But it's like, don't you want more? Like, you don't need to be fucking the savior of the universe or something, but don't you want more? I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with wanting more. It's like, because, you know, life is like a video game, right? We get a bunch of retries, but at the same time, like, you only get a finite amount of retries. So, if you just max out your character while learning all the other things about, like, you know, you go out and you're fighting the other characters, the other enemy characters and stuff on occasion, but you're, like, mostly training and stuff, then, like, yeah, you're missing out on possibly going and fighting a bunch of different enemies, but you're going to be so OP by the end of it that you'll have high standards, you know? And it's like, well, what if you have too high standards? It's like, well, again, if you have a clear head about this and you don't have such a high ego about this shit, and you're like, oh, I don't have anything to lose. It's like, oh, if you break up with me, I'll go find another girl. Like, you won't find another me, you know? And it's like, if you have that, then you won't have scarcity mentality, and you'll have abundance, right? And it's like, well, that's a shitty way to look at relationships. So you're just thinking about you the whole time, and it's like, no. I think that it's like a lot of people feel sad after they break up because, like, this person becomes such an intertangled part of their life, you know? So, like, when they break up, they're like, oh, God, like, you know, I'm never going to recover from this. And, but it's like, if you have your own shit going on the whole time, then it's pretty good. And that's another reason why I like dating Japanese people, is they don't really mesh communities, you know? Like, if you're dating a girlfriend, you probably don't really know her friends or her work colleagues, and maybe that's a good thing or a bad thing, but if you have clear communication with her and she trusts you, she's gonna tell you if, like, she has some friends that are, like, telling her to go party and slut it up, or she'll have, like, some coworkers that are hitting on her or something. Like, she'll be open with that. But if you're just, like, this dumbass guy who's just on autopilot, she's probably not gonna say anything, and then she's just waiting for the next, like, the better thing to come around, you know? A lot of people don't ever want to admit that they're just waiting for the next best thing to come around, and so they're just kind of with this person that they settled for. But I don't know, you don't want to be in that situation, right? You know, you want to be you want to keep the options open. You want to be the OP game player while all these other NPCs are around. It's like, oh, so you're saying your women are NPCs? It's like, no, but it's just that this is your life. You choose who you want to be in it. And, like, you don't just choose it because you're worried that you can't find anybody better. So you're just settling for this. And it's like, well, Dad, what if I'm horny? I'm so horny all the time, Dad. What can I do? Help. Well, then that's going to have to be another podcast rant, because I don't know. I feel like I kind of covered what I wanted to say about strong women, but I mean, at the end of the day, guys, it's just, you got to find somebody who meshes with you, who can communicate with you, who you're attracted to, and you know, like, like, you know, you're the oak tree. Like, I mean, it's like a business, right? Like, they help you when you're down, you help them when they're down, and it's a partnership, right? Like you guys, you know, you make each other's lives better. But at the same time, if you're both just kind of winging it and like just going with the flow, I don't know how well it's going to work out for you. But anyway, yeah, this is the end of the video. What do you guys think about it? Secret message of the day is beat the shit out of that car. Yeah, write that down. Beat the shit out of that car to let me know you made it this far. Don't forget to smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, subscribe bell to get notified, blah, blah, blah. We're doing a live stream after this, and I will see you guys in the live stream. Stay black, Otskar Samadeshta, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye. Sayonara.